March Madness is here and is in full fruition, and I'm sure all of our brackets are they busted around the first two games or so. But hey, it's still fun to watch some of the games with friends, with family, or even just alone. Well, that's not me, to be honest, because I've dedicated my entire life to watching the NFL, and I'm just grieving at the fact that this offseason is taking 10 billion years. But hey, with March Madness here, it is also a sign that the NBA playoffs is also near. It's happening in around less than a month. It's a great time to be a basketball fan, so I'm pretty excited as well. But I think it's time to spark some debate, as now with both playoffs being very close, I think it raises the age-old question, a debate as old as time, a debate like apples versus oranges or the color white versus the color black. Which sport is better, college basketball or NBA basketball? And this expands to other sports, comparing college football to the NFL. Well, I wanted to have both of these heavyweight matchups go up against each other and compare their playoff status. That's the NBA, the NFL playoffs, the college football playoff, March Madness, and of course, the NBA playoffs. We're going to do sport and sport, compare football, and then compare basketball, and then try and shed some light onto this debate and see if some of the college fans see if they have a point, because they always say that their version of the sport is the superior one. Welcome back to No Huddle, and welcome to College versus Pro. If you guys enjoy this and want to see more of this type of content, please subscribe, as any support is truly appreciated. And let's go. So I say we start with basketball first, as it is the more relevant topic. So we have March Madness versus the NBA playoffs. And something that I believe goes in the college basketball's favor is their idea of win or go home. As opposed to the 7-game more conventional style of the NBA, with the NBA, unless some major star player gets hurt and then that derails the entire top team, 9 times out of 10, the quote-unquote better team is always going to advance in the NBA. That's not really the case with March Madness. With it only being a 1-game sample size, you can have many quote-unquote inferior teams always upset some of these juggernauts, and it creates a ton of excitement because there are a bunch of upsets that happen in March Madness. Now, I guess for the sake of quality, you want the better team to always advance because then you get a better product, more high-profile matchups in the later rounds. But I think in terms of entertainment, I think it is better. Like, who doesn't like to see a powerhouse like Duke completely choke it away in the Final Four last year? Like, that was absolutely exhilarating. Who doesn't love all these Cinderella runs of these small schools or inferior teams, quote unquote, making a giant run and surprising the entire country? I think something that made the 2025 playoffs in the NBA last year, what it made it so special was the run of the Indiana Pacers. This team that was basically considered inferior in basically every single round that they were in, yet they continued to defy the odds and make this run all the way to Game 7 of the NBA Finals. March Madness has that, but it's a lot more common. You see many upsets. You see many Cinderella runs. So many teams that are considered inferior to shock the world. And I think I think they have it better because there's a lot more surprises in college basketball than there is in the NBA. Thinking of the NBA, you can't really think of many of these like Cinderella type runs. There's the 2025 Pacers, then the 2023 Heat, and then really what else? Like the We Believe Warriors, I guess. And that's pretty much just it. Another problem that the NBA has is that it's way too conventional. Sometimes the best team that's favored to win it all, they actually do win it all. We saw that with the Thunder last year, and to be honest, that can be a little bit boring. With March Madness, it's kind of the inverse. There are many, many surprises. You never know who's going to win. One team may just have a very lucky month, and they just end up winning it all. Who knows? March Madness, it's like Coach Carter in a way. Like you see this ragtag group of guys that can just do anything at any given point in the game and then just make a very deep run in the tournament. Now wait, just hold on. Because there is another argument on the other side of the coin, and in my opinion, this is what benefits the NBA more and what makes them, I guess, superior, or I guess that's the argument. And that's that the basketball in the NBA is just overall better, especially in the playoffs. Now, I am not an avid watcher of college basketball. I've dabbled in some clips, some highlights. I've watched some games before, but overall, it is not my strong suit, so please take this opinion with a grain of salt. The college basketball, it's a little ugly at times. There's a couple of dumb turnovers. It's just a bunch of brick shots. Sure, I'll give you that they play some very good defense, but a lot of the times It's just both teams shooting bricks left and right, and that's not very entertaining. The game is very raw, which is completely obvious, by the way, because these are 19 to 21-year-olds playing basketball. But personally, I prefer the NBA with their more conventional type. It's more polished, it's more refined. I just prefer it in a way. If you prefer the other type, that's fine by me. And then I also like that the NBA fans are able to get into it with playoff discourse. You look at some of these guys in the NBA, they're able to make or break their name in the playoffs. The media is also able to get into it. Now, this is a double-edged sword because sometimes they just talk about LeBron all day. But I like the fact that some players make their legacy in the playoffs, and March Madness really doesn't have that all much. So in conclusion, to wrap up the basketball side of the debate, it's really just whatever your favorite is. Do you prefer the exciting, unexpected style of college basketball where anything can happen and one team can shock the world? Or do you prefer the more conventional style in the NBA where the result might be more expected, but the quality on the product is overall better? Personally, I prefer the NBA because I'm more used to the NBA's type of basketball. I'm not a huge fan of the college style of basketball. But hey, if down the line, if I watch more of college ball, I probably will get comfortable with it. I'll probably have a lot of fun watching March Madness. And to be honest, if you prefer March Madness, I do not fault you whatsoever because I understand the extreme excitement around it. Personally, I am more lenient to agree with the college fans' opinion. Now, switching to the other sport, this is where I'm going to vehemently take a side, and I'm going to side with the pros with the NFL. Our next debate is the college football playoff versus the NFL playoffs. And to give college football some credit, I think they overall have a really, really good product. The main argument for college people is that they play with passion. It's for the love of the game. They're not just playing to make money. And I guess that's also an argument that basketball people are trying to use, that these players aren't playing for millions or hundreds of millions of dollars. They're playing basically to have fun, to try and get their name out there. Well, with the NIL kind of rising and such, that argument kind of gets thrown out the window, so I'm not really going to factor that in. But then other college football fans' argument is that they have that atmosphere. The bands are playing, the fans are loud, and obviously it creates a very intimidating atmosphere. And obviously, you have some Cinderella runs, you have some upsets in the college football playoff, which can be very exciting. You have some very good feel-good stories in which all the fans are happy for the winning team, and it's very nice. And then overall, I think that college football does have a good product, like I said. They can produce some very, very exciting and quality football. But that's all the praise that I'm going to have, because now we get to the slander. As good as college football can be, the atmosphere for me is a little overrated. When you're like me and basically watch all the games on the TV, I do not care about the atmosphere because it's not going to bleed through my screen. I am not affected by how loud the fans are unless I can vehemently hear it, which sometimes I can't. Cinderella runs, they basically happen in basketball, but when's the last time a college football team made a Cinderella run? I can think of TCU in 2023, and apart from that, I can't really think of anything else. Again, my knowledge is not that extensive, but to be honest, my brain is empty. And then another problem that I have with college football is that it's the same teams every single time. You have Alabama, Georgia, Michigan, Ohio State. Where the hell is the parity? I don't want to see the same 5 teams duke it out every single year because that can be boring. And it's even worse that the committee chooses the playoff teams because sometimes it feels like these teams aren't really selected because of how good they were, but they were selected because of their name value. And then one more thing. As good as college football can be, we obviously have a game like Ohio State versus Georgia in 2022. That was one of the best football games I've ever seen. The games can be incredibly ugly. You can have a TCU versus Georgia, LSU destroying Clemson, Alabama destroying Ohio State in the championship game. Blowouts, especially blowouts in the championship game, those are boring as hell. No one wants to see a completely one-sided affair where one team plays great and then the other team produces absolute bull on the pitch. Compare that to the NFL, which in my opinion is superior. Every single team in the NFL has made the playoffs at least twice since over the last 10 years, with the exception of the New York Jets. That's a little bit of parity, to be honest. You can have blowouts in the playoffs. We saw that in the divisional round with the San Francisco 49ers and the Seattle Seahawks. But then you look at the rest of the playoff schedule, you can name over half of the games on these lists, and over half of them were incredible games. You look at Rams, Panthers, Bills, Broncos, Rams, Bears. They were just incredible. That's not even mentioning the NFC Championship game, which was insanely entertaining. I think on a consistent basis, the NFL has the entertainment part. And I think one key point that I mentioned earlier with basketball is that the football is just better. College football can be incredibly ugly at times. Look at all these score lines and tell me that the team on the other side of the blowout is playing good football. This is egregious. What are these score lines? I personally prefer the NFL with its more polished type. I think it's easier to get into it, and I just think that it's a better product on the field. I have more fun watching the NFL than I do watching college ball. I have no problem if you like college football, but personally, I don't really see a convincing argument that says it is superior to the NFL. Personally, I have to lean with the NFL playoffs on this one. But overall, to wrap it up, just enjoy what you want to enjoy. I personally side with the pros on this one. I prefer the NBA and the NFL, but don't let me stop you from enjoying the college level sports or even the high school level sports if you're really into that. Watch March Madness, watch the Champions League, watch the Stanley Cup. It really doesn't matter if the NFL playoffs is better than college or if the NBA is better than college, because in the end, all of these playoffs are insanely exciting because the format of win or go home, there's nothing better in sports, to be honest. And that is all I have for you guys today. Please comment if you agree or disagree. Comment your thoughts on college versus pro. Please subscribe to show support, as any support is truly appreciated. And I'll see you guys in the next one.